Welcome back to Coppers and Brass, and thank you very much for joining us again. A series of programmes looking at various issues of Irish traditional music that I think don't often get aired in public as much as they should. Today's programme is about the work of Na Píobairí Uilleann, and I'm delighted to say that we have the Chief Executive of Na Píobairí Uilleann, Gay Mc Keon, along with us. Gay, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Tommy.
And we'll be coming back to Gay shortly to discuss the role of Uilleann Piping and the role of his organisation in Irish traditional music. We'll also be taking a trip down to the Cobblestones again for our weekly session where we're joined by some of the finest musicians in the country. But in the meantime, let's have a look at this. In 1960, a small number of musicians concerned about the future of Uilleann Piping formed a society, Na Píobairí Uilleann, with the aim of preserving and perpetuating Uilleann piping and pipe making. From humble origins, it has grown into a vibrant professional organisation which has developed strategies and programmes in which the original vision of its founders is central to everything it does. Today there are over 4,000 members worldwide, 2,000 in Ireland, who are involved in all aspects of piping. Lessons are its primary means of maintaining the tradition. Each week, experienced players teach young pipers in small groups, focusing on a specific tune. Lessons are held in NPU headquarters as well as in local schools around Dublin.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Students who express an interest in trying the pipes are often assisted by the club's loan scheme, whereby practice sets are provided on loan for up to 1 year. The tutor breaks down the tune into manageable parts for the pupils to commit to memory. For decades, the craft of pipe making had been seriously neglected, with demand for pipes outstripping supply. Even today, waiting lists of up to 10 years for a set of pipes from the most popular pipe makers is not uncommon. NPU has provided a custom-built, state-of-the-art workshop. Staffed with skilled tradesmen offering apprenticeships to aspiring young pipe makers to meet the incessant demand for quality pipes. NPU's mission of preserving Ireland's premier traditional art form embraces the most modern of technologies to reach out to pipers in 40 countries worldwide. The club's comprehensive website offers dozens of services to its members, and most of the facilities on the site are free to non-members as well. Lessons are available online at beginners, intermediate and advanced levels, and slow hours. With thousands of students studying Irish traditional music worldwide, well-researched and documented archive material is in huge demand. This aspect of the club site is user-friendly, easy, accessible and extremely comprehensive. NPU TV broadcasts programmes on performances from many venues, including Henrietta Street, the Cobblestones Bar and other venues. A range of piping materials for the enthusiast, including pipe making and maintenance, manuscript collections, and audio and video collections is available at the shop in Henrietta Street and online. The club plays a pivotal role in the annual Willie Clancy Week, which attracts hundreds of pipers amongst the thousands of visitors from across the world. Experienced members travel throughout the world giving lessons, recitals and performances throughout the year to maintain standards and reinforce the values of great piping. Well, that was just a very brief overview of some of the wide-ranging activities that Na Píobairí Uilleann get involved throughout the year, every year. Gay, an exhausting programme there. It takes a lot to get all that up and running. But before we come to the detail of that, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your own involvement in traditional music before you came to the post that you're in now?
Sure. My father was from County Leitrim and my mother from County Clare, and whereas they didn't play music or didn't sing, they had a great love of traditional music. And my father heard Leo Rosum, the great piper, pipe maker and broadcaster and teacher, when my father was quite young, and he fell in love with the sound of the pipes. And a number of years later he befriended Leo Rosum, and my eldest brother Tomas went to classes with weekly lessons with Leo in the School of Music and in the Pipers Club here in Dublin. And I had tried the piano with a lot of success. I think I broke the hearts of so many teachers, but Leo suggested me, I used to go into the classes, and Leo suggested to me I might take up the pipes, so I did. And Leo was huge, very, very, very encouraging, and I didn't have a lot of faith in my own ability, but Leo certainly showed a lot of faith in me and encouraged me greatly, and that was really it. And you know, then I just really got involved more and more, particularly in my teenage years after Leo died. I had no teacher really, and I kind of learned on my own. I got a few lessons here and there, and I got a lot of support from people like Mac Kiernan, Dan O'Dowd, Sean Seary, people like that, Tommy Reck. They were very supportive, and there was a small community of Uilleann pipers, but a very close and supportive group of people. So Brendan Brannock then, I got to know Brendan and got involved with Na Píobairí Uilleann, and I've been involved with Na Píobairí Uilleann. In fact, since the very beginning, I was there with my parents, my dad and my brother, and my father had a keen interest. Whereas he didn't play, he supported the pipe making, particularly because he had joinery workshops and stuff like that. So I've been involved in piping all my life, and my family, my children are involved in music. My wife.
You've been involved as a pupil, as a volunteer, and now in a professional capacity.
Yeah.
And what is the state of piping now? Is the demand for piping beginning to tail off?
No, it's growing. Nobody could have believed in 1968 that the growth in terms of the geographic spread and the numbers of players. So that's just continuing. We're amazed. I think people just find it difficult to know where to get a set of pipes. And if they get a set of pipes, then they find it difficult to get a teacher. And if they can do those two things, then they need to be in the community of pipers to keep the pipes going and to learn. So the job in the Píobairí Uilleann is just to try and do the basics of promoting the playing and making of the Uilleann pipes. So we're seeing a big increase. Like we've over 100 instruments out on loan on a continuous basis, and we're finding about 75% of those people go on and buy their own instruments. So it is creating a demand for instruments, but we're doing training as well in their Pipecraft Training Centre. There's a lot of new makers here in Ireland have come to the fore in recent years, and the situation is improving. Things are improving. So in terms of accessibility of tuition of instruments and of classes. So it takes a lot of work, Tommy. But gradually I believe we're making good inroads, and we're just we're very focused.
And I suppose one of the ways you can gauge its popularity is attendance at classes, particularly at the Willie Clancy Week. How were the numbers this year? Yeah,
we've just come from it, and definitely this year there was a significant increase in the geographic spread of the participants in the classes, and also the age profile. An awful lot of young people, and particularly the demographics in relation to female young girls and women generally playing the Uilleann pipes, which is significant. And we think we'll need to put on more classes next year at that, and at all our classes, outreach classes around the country and abroad that we're involved with, and indeed our own weekly classes in Henrietta Street. we're inundated with people that want to learn. So yes, there is very, very significant and sustained growth, you know, of interest in the instrument. That's for sure.
It's an expensive instrument, though. Is that not a bit prohibitive for some people?
Well, it is in theory. People kind of balk and they hear the big figures, you know. Like, I mean, if you're to buy a high-end set of uilleann pipes, you can pay a lot of money. But to get an entry-level set of uilleann pipes, there's there's an active second-hand market. Well, first of all, Na Píobairí Uilleann have a pipes and loan scheme, and we're always adding to the inventory of instruments we have. We've over 100 sets in loan, and we want to add to that.
How does that work?
Well, basically, people contact if it's a young person, their parents, their guardians need to contact Na Píobairí Uilleann and register the interest. And what we try and do is make a set available to people for a year. There's no rental charge, but there is a refundable deposit, just to make sure that the instrument comes back to us and that it's it's not beyond repair or anything like that. So, and that's never really the case. So basically, we ask that people join the Píobairí Uilleann so as to be in the community. So if you're a child, that's €25, an adult €50, and then you're in the network and you get discounts. And we ask that people. Discounts on our materials, and so it makes good economic sense to join. And then also we ask that people have access and actually do get lessons, because there's no point in having an instrument without getting lessons, So that's how that works. So basically, people can get an instrument on loan, or from the people, or maybe from somebody they know might loan them a set of pipes. And you can, for about €1,000, you can get a good practice set of pipes, maybe €1,200. Get a good practice set of pipes that last you forever, and you can add onto them, add drones onto them, and time add regulators, so you get a full set of pipes. So it's kind of, you start with a beginner set, entry level, and so isn't so costly. And you'll find that people find that the community uilleann pipers are pretty generous and supporting people, So we would like to think that the cost wouldn't be a barrier.
Shouldn't be if someone's really determined to get involved.
Yeah. And anybody who's interested, just contact us and we'll try and do everything in our power to help.
Okay. I want to talk to you in a second about the instrument itself, its origins, and its current state. Is a very technically advanced instrument compared to some other instruments. But before we do that, we want to take a trip back across the Liffey again to the Cobblestone bar in Dublin for our weekly sessions, and I'm delighted that I'm being joined on this occasion by a fellow Northerner, Fintan Vallely from Armagh, playing A Dear Irish Boy.
Fintan Vallely. I'm going to play a tune which I learned from Felix Doran at the Flan in Scorthia, I think 1967 or 69 or something, and a troubled version of The Dear Irish Boy.
And that was Fintan Vallely with a version of A Dear Irish Boy, a tune also favoured by pipers. Gay, just before the break for Fintan's tune there, we were talking about the actual set, the instrument itself. Could you give us a brief background of when it was developed, how it was developed, and particularly, do you see any further developments, or has it reached its zenith?
Yeah, well, obviously the uilleann pipes emerged from, I suppose, a simple mouth-blown instrument that was used mainly in battle and for sporting occasions, and developed into pastoral pipes in the 1700s, and then into the current manifestation of bag bellows, chanter, and 3 drones and 3 regulators in the early 1800s. And different stages people have experimented with different ideas, using different materials, you know, maybe adding on extra drones or extra regulators, you know. So that has continued, and it's becoming more prevalent, like people are adding on A drones or maybe some extra regulator keys. I don't know if they're going to change significantly. I think the materials that are used, people are looking at different, you know, using spruce for making reeds, and you know, different metals for making reeds. But in the main, I think the instrument is pretty much at where it's going to be. I think. I mean, you can get a chromatic chanter, you can, with all the keys, you know. There has been a fair amount of innovation over the last 20 years, and certainly the skills of pipe makers have been, you know, honed, going back to the kind of skill levels that, funnily enough, that existed in pre-famine times, you know. So we've been catching up and trying to reclaim the skills of pipe making.
I was just wondering, I've certainly been conscious of an increase of the pipes being used in other forms rather than traditional music. It's becoming popular. And I wonder if the demand, if the pipes begin to reach out beyond the traditional Irish music, would that affect the development?
No, I just think that people are realising that it's an excellent instrument, and you know, that it can be applied in different different music genre, and so that's what's happening. But I don't think the inherent instrument itself is changing significantly.
I hope not, because I'm struggling to get on top of what we have. Right.
It makes 2 of us, Tommy.
Styles in Irish traditional music has been a hotly contested subject, and defining styles. We haven't the time, unfortunately, to go into it here today. But what's your overview on, is there a single style of pipe playing, or is it the old closed and open, or what's the state of styles in uilleann pipe playing?
Yeah, well, it's funny, I've often reflected on this, why you say flute players and fiddle players particularly, you get the regional styles, and not so much in uilleann piping. I think partially the reason is that the pipers tended to gravitate towards the cities, and I think that may be because the materials were mainly imported and the pipe makers operated there, and because of the nature of the instrument, it's not so easy to take it up, so you tended to have styles that were passed on from whoever taught, you know, the next generation. So they tend to be focused on individuals, you know. So I think that you know, that and the extremes, funny, of open and tight playing, you're using very staccato features of particularly the chanter, and more legato, you know, open style, more closer in some ways to flute playing. I don't think it's extreme now as it used to be. I think most pipers actually use a blend of both. So I think that's been you know, a more significant development. And to my mind, it's probably, you know, either extreme is probably in itself is interesting, but you know, it can be, you know, it blocks out some aspects that could be used, you know, in both. So I think the majority of pipers now tend to use kind of a very blended approach, and I think that's possibly a good thing, you know. So no, I don't see significant changes in that regard.
A healthy mixture of both.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
that's great. Well, finally, Gay, what about the future? What about the future of piping? What about the future of Na Píobairí Uilleann? Will there be a demand for Na Píobairí Uilleann for decades to come?
Yeah, well, it's the ironic thing is that more work we do, we find that we've more actually to do. The interest in uilleann piping is quite phenomenal, and it's just very difficult for people. We're doing a lot of outreach teaching, in Ireland and abroad, and we see that the demand is there. People are really fascinated, and it's not really because of Na Píobairí Uilleann or anybody in the organisation. It's the sound of the instrument.
The instrument is the ambassador.
Yeah. So people hear it in soundtracks to films, or they hear it, go to hear the Chieftains, or go to Riverdance. They hear recordings of Johnny Doran or Leo Rosum or Seamus Ennis, whoever. And that's what it brings them to Na Píobairí Uilleann. So I think we've tons of work to do in the basics, just teaching people how to play and teaching people how to make the instrument. And I think that I actually think that the potential and the interest in it is we're only scraping the tip of the iceberg, in honesty. I honestly think in 20, 30 years' time that we will see a massive proliferation of uilleann piping around the world. I really do.
To maintain the level of activities that we saw in the little documentary there requires huge resources.
Sure.
Are you funded centrally by government, or are you dependent on fundraising?
Well, there's a number of areas. We get, thankfully, we get funding from the Arts Council as an organisation. We get some funding from Dublin City Council. We get a little bit we get some from the Crafts Council. We're very happy. Different agencies work with us, and like Leader will help us on the pipe making by funding trainees. So there's various different ways. Obviously, our own members and their membership and subscriptions. Then when people buy things on our website, we hopefully make a bit of a profit. So there's a number of different sources. That's terribly important to us. We couldn't really function at the level that we do. We see that the demand is huge and ever expanding, and we work harder and smarter, I think, and we're very process driven, and we're IT savvy, I think. So we just try to, get more results with the same, with the same limited resources, and try and do our job. We're going to be building, reinstating 16 Henrietta Street. We're based at 15 Henrietta Street, and that building was subdivided, and then 16 fell down. So we're going to put a museum theatre, a visitor centre, and then a expanded archive. And that's going to be a national uilleann piping centre. And why wouldn't we, along with the harp, the uilleann pipes is very iconic of Ireland.
Absolutely.
And lots of countries have bagpipe museums, and we don't have an uilleann piping centre. So we believe that there's a great demand for this, and that it'll be a great asset to Ireland and to Dublin and to the internationally people who want to come and learn about the uilleann pipes. So we're doing a fundraising campaign over the next number of years, a capital campaign to put those things in place, and we're looking forward to getting on with it.
Okay. Well, Gay, as one of your least distinguished but most enthusiastic pupils, I want to thank you on behalf of pipers the worldwide, not just pipers, but those who enjoy pipes. Na Píobairí Uilleann does fantastic work. There is clearly a major role for it ahead. Thank you very much for coming in, and good luck with all your successful endeavours. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Well, that was Gay Mc Keon on the wonderful work of Na Píobairí Uilleann, and I think you'll agree with me from the short interview we've had and look at some of the work up in the schools and in the community. They are doing really fantastic work. That brings us to the end of this particular programme on Coppers and Brass. Next week we're having the focus on a family of traditional music, the Mulligan family. Tom Mulligan, who owns the Cobblestones, and his brothers and sons, daughters, nephews and nieces are, like many other big families in Dublin, keeping the tradition on. So we're going to have a look at them and what they're doing, and we'll also be going back to the Cobblestones for a few tunes. In the meanwhile, thanks very much for joining us, and I do hope to see you again next week.